I'm going to tell you something that I haven't really told many other people outside of our Discord. Bard makes me consider... Actually, it went from Cleric, like Cleric Bard, to Cleric Bard. Going back to Flourish, I just want to bring that up because for me, it was interesting because, again, coming from other games like Final Fantasy XIV where there's a bard, Flourish means something else. I think that was actually a part of the dancer class. And so hearing the word flourish and then seeing something else associated with it, I was like expecting it to be like a finisher, but instead it's like this knee slide across the ground. But I also... I don't know about you, but I liked that it was not stuck in a direction. It actually, we were watching this together in Discord, and they had to point it out to me that you could just move wherever you wanted to while you were flourishing. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I'm loving it. So to me, what I see out of that is it'll prevent a lot of gamer rage. For instance, let me get out of this AoE, and as you start your slide, another one pops in front of you, and you're like, well, there goes my there goes my slide. Instead, it's whoa, let me go left. And it gets the player, I think, that much more engaged into their gameplay. I love it.
Yeah, and Breegram says, I love that it will ignore collision. Bertek, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the same thing, exactly what was just said there. I love the fact that it's going to avoid collision, be able to just power slide through enemies, friendlies, whatever, just kind of like dive through really quick, get on the other side of them if need be, if that's what you're trying to go for, you know? Like, let's just say you're out on the battlefield and you're running ahead as a bard and trying to help, you know, keep some people up front, like all alive or whatever, or filled up with some hit points, and then they get nuked down by a hidden group of mages that just kill everybody, and you can quickly turn around and flourish right through the tank to get to the backside of them.
Huh.
Oh yeah,
that's really, really cool. I don't know, I like it. It's one of those, I wonder how often you can do it and how many times in a row you can do it. Because again, I think looking back at, what was it, back when they were doing the weapon showcase for Attack, and they were showing off, it wasn't the actual fighter showcase, but a lot of people considered it because they were showing the big two-handed sword and then like the little daggers, and he was doing like that poof poof. People are like, oh, if he does that too much, like that's going to be like a problem. But this gives Bard, while being ranged, the ability to kind of be, I think we assumed that was going to be a rogue capability, the poofing option. So that would also give Bard a lot of momentum and movement that Cleric doesn't really have. So now you have this other option for support that seems to heal pretty decently. We'll get into that later. But also has a lot more movement than Cleric seems to have. What are your thoughts on that in comparison?
I think it's a good balance. At least from what we can tell so far. The trade away there is, you know, if your Cleric's gonna be pumping numbers when it comes to heals, the small trade-off is they're not just zipping around the battlefield doing so. And in the comparison to the Bard, being on the lower end of healing, but still, you know, enough. But being able to kind of be, like I said earlier, the menace, the little nuisance, the fly you want to swat that's just kind of rolling around the battlefield, doing his little things that are just picking and prodding. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Zombie Medic is getting mad at me for slandering Cleric, and I was like, no, I love Cleric. Don't get me wrong, I love Cleric. That's what I want to main.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great because honestly, the Bard, it like Neorine was saying, it's not necessarily that they're powerful with any one given thing, but they're powerful in the fact that they can sprinkle out a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how it's going to work when it comes to raids versus just a party, right? Are they only going to be party-wide buffs? Are they going to be raid-wide buffs, etc.?
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's be honest. There's going to be some raid leader assistant out there that's just going to be shuffling the bards through different groups as they're raiding, just to get that buff out there if needed.
Yeah.
But just also to confirm with Flourish, as Ludlud mentioned, there are 2 charges that they talked about in the video, as well as if you look at the icon on the bottom right, there's a little number 2 right underneath the bottom of the boot.
I'm going into the wiki, which, by the way, I put the wiki out there for those of you watching later. Those will be in the description below. But interesting. Sorry, I'm seeing some interesting stuff on the wiki. It's like moving slightly. There's the boot. Okay. Yeah, I see it now. There's like a tiny little 2. Okay, cool. I like that. That's really neat.
Yeah, it looks like the only one with multiple charges that I can see.
Yeah. But that brings me to the healing that Bard can do. And they showcase Bard being able to heal. We'll go into more of like the actual party thing. But there was this really wide buff, and somebody actually asked in chat our thoughts on the range of those buffs. But there was like this ability to not only have 1 melody, but 2 that you could do at one time to do mana and healing and damage done and damage taken. What are your thoughts on that?
I think over time, the one person we'll see the most patches for would probably be the Bard so far. There's so much with the Bard kit. And that's just Ashes in general. It's gonna be a balancing nightmare, I feel like. So hopefully they nail it on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be super interesting to see how the Bard evolves. As you say, testing is going to be required, and it's going to be a very fun and interesting test along the way, just as people find ways to break it and make it, OP or whatever in different ways, and Trevor's going to have to find ways to fix it. But again, with the party versus raid buffs, it could be interesting to see people like twisting different songs to get the most benefit for the entire raid type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. I liked the different options that they had. What I liked especially is the different representations of Bard within one giant thing. Because that was the one thing that we talked about this last Tuesday. We had our tavern talks. If you missed that, you can go catch that on our YouTube, where we talked about the history of Bard and what we were expecting to see. Ludoloo actually joined us with his perspective for Lineage 2. And I was actually really decently impressed and surprised to see the dancing, the music part of it, the spoken part of it all incorporated, and in kind of not segregated ways, but kind of enhancing your other skills kind of ways. And I thought that was really, really neat. What are your thoughts? Did you expect more of a choose your style of how it gets performed, or do you like the way that they ended up doing it?
I definitely expected a, what's your entertainment style? For instance, am I going to be a electric guitarist kind of style, to where they're fast, they're real zippy and that kind of thing, compared to I'm the drum guy and I do a lot at short bursts. I'm pumping stuff out. That was my expectations for the Bard, but the way they've done it, they've done a really good job of kind of blending that together. And you as a player now going up to your finely crafted skill tree and choosing how you want that to be played. So I think they did a good job displaying that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how they're going to, or if they're going to, rather, I should say, if they're going to make the instruments to have some kind of an actual effect on what you do. That way, if if you see somebody banging on drums, that they're probably got this little specialization going on over here, because it would almost make sense, but it also would make sense to not do that, because it's not necessarily the Bard's instrument that should decide so much as what they're doing.
Right. True.
But plus, anybody can have whatever instrument they like, and it's just fine. Let them play the way they want to play. If it's something that's not really gonna have an impact, or doesn't really need to have an impact, then why make it?
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point.
I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's and this is something that we gotta keep in mind, and I definitely wasn't. It's their weapon choice too comes into play. That I kind of I just forget about because of I don't know why, but I don't see a bard wielding a great sword in my head.
Yeah.
But weapon choice is gonna play, I guess, a factor into that too. But I'm curious as to how much of a factor it'll play. You know.
Yeah, and I mean that's another thing that we talked about on Tuesday, right? There's in D&D, there's College of Swords, right, where the bard is a lot more DPS oriented, and so I'm wondering because again, I forget how it's done in Pathfinder. I don't think I've ever actually played a bard type of character in Pathfinder, but we know that Ashes of Creation is based off of Stephen Sharif's homebrew Pathfinder game, so I'm curious to see what daggers will do to this game. I'm curious to see what swords or other things besides a book will do to this bard class and how that's going to affect it. But yeah, I don't know. Attack.
I'm just chuckling at Azrael.
More cowbell.
Azrael's comment. Yep. So yeah, if they won't let Azrael play the triangle, better at least allow some cowbell. Love it.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, this is the thing I was struggling to remember during our chat in Discord, but the skill for the shielding dance, where he's kind of like doing a stomp and then like dancing, and it's like putting these shields on his allies. That reminds me of the Tahitian warrior war dance, where it's meant to be kind of like this like terrifying like I don't know how to explain it, but like what they do towards their enemies to like make them nervous. It kind of gives me that vibe a little bit. Huh?
The haka, I think it comes from
maybe. Yeah, but yeah, intimidating. I like how intimidating it seemed. Okay, Nair, you got it. I'll add it to the list later. But a Brad wielding a rapier makes sense in my head. Would be cool to see how the archetypes will be with the bard. Yeah, I agree on that one. It's just see people like fencing.
On guard, you fool! Just good.
Oh my gosh.
The RP's gonna go insane.
Oh my gosh, I love it. What short sword dwarf? Oh my gosh! Raid from Loreforged.
Welcome in, Loreforged and Company.
Welcome
Thank
in,
you for stopping by here.
Yes, thank you. We are talking with Neorine from the Divine Order about Bard and our thoughts on it. So I saw you guys were talking about Bard too. What did you guys think? Did you like Bard? Are you excited for it? I'm gonna tell you something that I haven't really told many other people outside of our Discord. Bard makes me consider. Actually, it went from Cleric Bard to Cleric Bard. They're both contenders at this point.
Oh man.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I've had some
Big
people
book
with that too.
Win. Don't say it. Yeah, it is making me think twice, but that's why I wanted, that's what Alpha 2 is going to be for me. I changed my mind from I'm going to just test all of Cleric first and see which one of Cleric primary, secondary I like, to I'm going to test Cleric and Bard and see which of those two I like, and then compare their secondaries against each other. Who knows? I might like Cleric as my primary single focus, but I might like Bard Cleric as my primary AoE focus, like alt kind of thing. So yeah. I'm really excited to see how they play together, because I know I want something to do with Cleric. I'm a healer primary,